Hi, my name is Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about my top 5 favourite crime and mystery authors of all time. So I love crime fiction and I particularly love mystery fiction. Any book that contains an intriguing puzzle is something that I am always going to be drawn to. So here are my top 5 crime authors. In the description box below, I will list all the authors, and as I go through, I will give some particular recommendations from each author. So I will list all those recommendations in the description below. In at number 5 is Icelandic crime author Raganar Jonasson. So he has written some standalone books. He's written a couple of series. One of his series is called the Dark Iceland series, which features a police detective called Ari Thor, and I have really enjoyed that series. But my personal favourite of Raganar Jonasson's series is called the Hidden Iceland series. It's a trilogy of books. The first book is called The Darkness, followed by The Island, and then The Mist. And these feature a 64-year-old detective called Hulda, who is coming up to retirement age. And in the first book, The Darkness, we see her take on what could be her final case that she's going to be working on before she retires from the police force. And we see how she is treated as an older woman within a very male-dominated police force. We see some of the stuff that's happened to her in her past and the impact of her personal life on her working life. And this crime series, the Hidden Iceland series, is one that I would highly recommend to anyone who is interested in crime fiction, because I have never read any series quite like it. It is pretty dark, I will say, but I thought it was excellently done, so clever. And all of Raganar Jonasson's books, they are set in Iceland and they are very sort of dark and atmospheric, and yeah, I would highly recommend them. Fun fact, Raganar Jonasson has translated into Icelandic many Agatha Christie novels. So apparently he read all the Christie novels that were available to read in Icelandic when he was younger, and then when he got to the age of 17 he ran out of all the ones that had been translated into Icelandic and then started translating them himself, and he's translated several. I believe he is a big fan of Agatha Christie as well. I think most, if not all, of his books have been translated from Icelandic into English by Victoria Cribb. In at number 4 is a Golden Age crime author, John Dickson Carr, who also wrote under the name Carter Dickson. So John Dickson Carr was an American author, and he was one of only 2 Americans to be admitted into the Detection Club, which is a club which was first founded in the 1930s of a group of crime authors. So at the time it included authors like Agatha Christie, Dorothy L. Sayers, and that club does still exist to this day with contemporary crime authors. So John Dickson Carr was one of only 2 Americans admitted to the club. He had a very English sort of style of writing. His books were set in England. He has a couple of series featuring different sort of detective characters. He is best known as being the master of the locked room mystery and the impossible puzzle. So his books mostly contain either a locked room, so literally like there's a dead body in a locked room, where's the murder weapon gone, or how could the murderer possibly have escaped, there was people outside the room, that sort of thing, or an impossible puzzle, something that seems it could not have happened but clearly it did happen. How did that happen? And that's why I really love his books, because of the real puzzle element to them. One of John Dickson Carr's most famous books is called The Hollow Man. This is often said to be the best locked room mystery ever. I do enjoy it, but I would not recommend that as a place to start, actually, because The Hollow Man, I think, is quite convoluted, and I could see that being a little bit off-putting. So I wouldn't recommend starting with The Hollow Man. But I've got 3 recommendations for John Dickson Carr. All of them include his sort of amateur detective character called Dr Gideon Fell. So the first one I would recommend is called The Black Spectacles. In this one, someone has been poisoned by these like poison chocolates or poison sweets. And these sweets seem to have been poisoned like right under the nose of the shopkeeper. So it seems impossible how these sweets could have been poisoned. And then one of the characters stages this like almost a reenactment sort of game to others to show how it's possible that it could have been done. And the black spectacles of the title are said to be the black spectacles that witnesses will wear, in that they will only see what they think they are seeing. And while this sort of reenactment is being staged, this person is murdered again in front of a load of witnesses, and it seems like an impossible crime. This is one of his most well-loved books. Another one I really enjoyed is The Man Who Could Not Shudder. In this one we have someone who is murdered. They are shot, and there are several witnesses who see this pistol, which is like displayed on the wall in a room in someone's home. They all see this pistol lift off the wall and shoot a man dead, but there is no hand holding the pistol, so it seems completely impossible. How on earth could this have happened? And another one I want to recommend, again featuring Dr Gideon Fell, is called The Seat of the Scornful. I read this earlier this year, got it from the library, so I don't own a copy, but we'll put a picture up. And unusually for John Dickson Carr, The Seat of the Scornful does not contain an impossible puzzle, but it does have a really intriguing setup. So in The Seat of the Scornful we have the police walk in on a man who is sitting in his home in like his office or drawing room or something. He's sitting there and there's a gun on the floor and there's a dead body. But the man who's sitting there says he did not shoot this man. He has just walked into this room and found this man there dead on the floor in his home. So is he telling the truth? Is he lying? How did this dead body come to be in this man's home? So those are some of my recommendations for John Dickson Carr. In at number 3 is a contemporary British crime writer, Anthony Horowitz. So Anthony Horowitz has done lots and lots of things. So he is famous as writing the YA series Alex Rider. He has been a scriptwriter for TV shows Midsummer Murders and Poirot. He created various TV shows including Foyle's War, and he's written many novels. So he has written 2 Sherlock Holmes novels, The House of Silk and Moriarty, both of which I would highly recommend. He was authorised to do that by the estate of Arthur Conan Doyle, and I thought both of those books were excellent. He's also written a series that starts with Magpie Murders. The next one in the series is Moonflower Murders, and there is a TV series based on those books, which I haven't yet watched. But in Magpie Murders, what I really like about those is there is a book within a book. So we're following an editor who is working on this manuscript, and the manuscript itself is like a murder mystery in like an English village. But then in real life, there's other mysteries going on, and the editor starts to realise that what is written in this manuscript, there may be secrets within there that will have a real life meaning. But my favourite of Anthony Horowitz's series is the Hawthorne and Horowitz series of books. So there are 5 so far in that series. The first one is called The Word is Murder, and these feature a private investigator called Daniel Hawthorne and his sidekick Anthony Horowitz. So Anthony Horowitz in this series inserts himself into the books, and Anthony Horowitz, the character, is meant to be writing a book about Daniel Hawthorne, which is why he is accompanying him when he's solving these cases. And there's a real playful feel to these books because the relationship between Hawthorne and Horowitz, it's a bit of a Holmes and Watson or a Poirot and Captain Hastings. So there is definitely, funny moments between the two of them. Saying that, I wouldn't say it's an overall, cosy or funny crime series, because there is some dark stuff in there as well. And I think Anthony Horowitz does the puzzle aspect of murder mysteries really well. So in the first one in that series, The Word is Murder. It's centred around a woman who just hours after planning her own funeral is murdered. So did she know she was going to die? How, why did that happen? So that series, the Hawthorne and Horowitz series, is my favourite by Anthony Horowitz. But as I say, I would recommend the Magpie Murders series. I would recommend his Sherlock Holmes books as well. I think he's a really, really clever crime writer. In at number 2 is another contemporary British crime writer, and that is Sophie Hannah. So Sophie Hannah has written standalones. She has been authorised by the estate of Agatha Christie to write the continuation Poirot novels, of which I think there's 5 so far, and I really enjoy them because those Sophie Hannah Poirot novels, and I was a fan of Sophie Hannah before she started writing the Poirot novels, but they really are the best blend of Agatha Christie and Sophie Hannah, because what she's done, I think, is keep the essence of Poirot and Agatha Christie, but put a Sophie Hannah twist on it. So when I read those Poirot novels, it's just the perfect combination of Christie and Sophie Hannah. So what Sophie Hannah does, which I really, really love, is she comes up with the most bizarre plots and sort of ideas to base her books around. And so many times when I read her books, I think, how has she even come up with this idea? So they're not sort of necessarily locked room mysteries or impossible puzzles, but more sort of impossible mysteries, concepts that you think it just makes no sense. Why, how would that be, or why would someone do that? So the main series that she writes, apart from Poirot, is the Culver Valley series, and there are 11 novels in that series so far, and they centre around the same police force investigating various cases. I would say you can read them out of order. I did read them out of order, although there is some continuing storyline in relation to the police characters themselves. But in terms of the plots of the individual books, they are standalone plots, so you can read them out of order. So the first one in the series is called Little Face. And in Little Face, we have a woman who leaves her baby at home with her husband for a few hours while she goes out. When she comes back, there's a baby there, but it's not her baby. And she is adamant that this is not her baby, but her husband says that it is. So is it her baby? But then why is she lying about this? Or is it not? But then, if not, then who is this baby, and why is the husband lying about it? So it just sort of quite a bizarre, intriguing concept. The first of the Sophie Hannah books that I read was called The Other Half Lives, which I think is the 4th in the series. And I just remember being completely mesmerised by this plot. So The Other Half Lives is about a woman who has recently got a new boyfriend, and one day, he's got a lot of previous trauma and things have gone on in his personal life, and one day he confides in her that he has murdered someone. He killed a woman years ago. And he tells her about this, and he tells her who the woman was. But then she doesn't understand, because she recognises that name, and she knows that woman is alive. So is he lying? Why would he confess to a murder that he didn't do if the person's not even dead? Or is this person someone else? It doesn't make sense. So all her books have some sort of quite intriguing hook within them. I think Sophie Hannah is a really, really great writer. So in at number 1, my favourite crime author is, of course, Agatha Christie. I read all of Agatha Christie's crime novels as a teenager. I used to get them out of the library and I reread them and reread them and reread them over and over again. So I like the Miss Marple novels. I like the sort of cosy village setting. I'm not so keen on Tommy and Tuppence, I will admit, because Tommy and Tuppence books to me always seem a bit more like action thrillery plot-wise rather than murder mystery. But then Poirot is my favourite of Agatha Christie's series. I really like Poirot as a character. I think I just really enjoy his sort of pomposity and ridiculousness and the way his brain works. I like his relationship with Captain Hastings. I enjoy all of the Poirot novels, but there is a couple that I wanted to particularly recommend. So one of my favourites is Cards on the Table, and this centres around like a dinner party, a bridge party, being hosted by a character called Mr. Shaitana. So Mr. Shaitana invites 4 sort of detective-y type guests, one of whom is Poirot. I think one's a police officer, one's Ariadne Oliver, and there's someone else. And he also invites 4 people who he believes have committed murder. He says that he collects murderers. And Mr. Shaitana sort of brags to Poirot that he knows people's secrets and he knows these people have committed various murders in their past, and he has brought these people together for this dinner party, and wouldn't you know it, he gets murdered. What I like about Cards on the Table is that it's very much a closed circle. You've got a very limited group of suspects. There's a very sort of contained setting within that as well, and it's all about who under those circumstances would have committed a murder and done it in that way, you know. And Poirot in that one talks a lot about like the psychology of murder. Another Poirot novel I really like is Hercule Poirot's Christmas, which is timely as I'm filming this in December. So in Hercule Poirot's Christmas we have the patriarch of a family who invites all his family, all his children, to come spend Christmas with him. And there's lots of trouble within the family tensions, secrets and so on. And then there's a murder. And so what I like about this one is I like the family. I like Christie's books where they centre around a family, just because I think that's ripe for good, you know, secrets and stuff. I like the Christmas setting, and in this one I particularly like the solution as well, which obviously I am not going to give away. But much as I do like the Poirot series, my favourite Agatha Christie book of all time is And Then There Were None, which is a standalone. And Then There Were None is one of Christie's most well-known, well-loved novels, and I think rightly so. Unusually, it contains no detective. So we have a group of 10 characters who are all invited to go stay at this isolated house on this island. And when they arrive there, their host is nowhere to be seen. They don't know who each other is. They don't know why they've been invited there. But one by one, they start to die. So I really, really like it because it's dark. It's quite creepy. There isn't really any lightness in it. Like I think in a lot of Christie's other novels, there is at some points a little bit of lightness within there. But And Then There Were None doesn't really have any of that. It's pretty dark. It's pretty creepy. Obviously, as people start to die, no one trusts anyone else. And it has the atmosphere as well of the island is very chilling. I think it's a absolutely brilliantly plotted mystery novel. I think it's absolute genius. I love it, and it's very, very influential as well, of course, within the crime genre. There are many books that have taken inspiration from And Then There Were None, and I wanted to recommend one of those books as a final little recommendation here. The Decagon House Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji is a Japanese crime novel which is inspired by and very much pays homage to And Then There Were None. This is translated by Holing One. And so in this one we have a group of university students who are all members of a club for crime fiction fans, and they all are very much into golden age crime fiction. So throughout the book we get references to, you know, Agatha Christie, I think Dorothy L. Sayers, I think John Dickson Carr gets a mention. So there is a like a playfulness to that part of it, which I really enjoy. So anyway, these university students all go to stay on this island where there's this house where there's been a series of unsolved murders. So they go stay there, and wouldn't you know it, one by one they start to die. So I thought this was excellent. It's, although it is inspired by And Then There Were None, it's a different plot, but you can see, you know, the similarities in terms of you know, the nature of the story, and I thought it was a really, really good one. So if you do like And Then There Were None, I would recommend the Decagon House Murders. So those are my top 5 favourite crime mystery authors of all time. Please do let me know if you've read any of them, and who is your favourite crime or mystery author, and are there any particular books by them that you would recommend me to read. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye.